Lake Forest Parks and Recreation Board meeting of November 8th, 2011 at 6:30 p.m. Thank you all for coming. Our first order of business is approval of the minutes, and I was told by Curt Volkmann that there were a couple of mistakes in the minutes. On the September 13th meeting, under the town line drainage item, it says Scott both made the motion and seconded the motion, so we will fix that in the minutes. And then also in the September 21st joint meeting, Curt's last name was misspelled on page 9, so we will make those changes too. So I'd like to get a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No, motion passes. Then next we're going to go on to the DEERPATH golf course report. We have a number of reports under this category. We're going to be talking about the golf committee recommendation. We're going to talk about the proposed fees for fiscal year 13, the status of the golf advisory committee, and then winter indoor golf studio. We'll have a presentation on that as well. So rather than have public comment or questions after each bullet item, we're going to do everything at the end. So we'll talk about all the golf course reports at once, and then we'll ask questions after that. I hope that's okay with everyone. We thought it was easier than coming up and going back down and everything. So the first agenda item is the golf committee recommendation to pursue contract with Kemper Sports Management for the operations management consulting services. And that's going to be presented by Curt Volkmann and Mary Van Arsdale.
Thanks. Thank you, Robin. I thought I'd start by just kind of recapping the history of what's happened to get us to this point for those that may not be familiar with the process that we've gone through this summer. We're all aware of the deteriorating financial condition at DEERPATH, and we decided in the spring time frame to explore options for managing the course. And the options ranged from full privatization, where we basically turn everything over to a third party, to alternative forms of third-party management. We issued a request for qualification this summer to over 300 different companies around the U.S. and got 7 responses back. And from that group of 7, we ended up picking 4 companies to talk to in some detail. And we did conduct interviews in the summer, which led to a very spirited public meeting on August 30th, where we had lots of representatives from the community come out and share their views about this whole topic of alternative management at the golf course. When we considered the options that these organizations presented, and when we considered the very strong input from the golf community, we decided not to privatize and rather pursue what we're calling a hybrid management option, which is basically to seek the services of a third-party golf management company, an expert in this field, who will bring to us a consultant manager who will effectively take Chris's position to run the day-to-day operations of the course. This person will remain an employee of this third-party organization. They will not become a city employee. And this hybrid option does a couple things for us. It allows us to maintain control of all the key decisions at the course, which is a concern of a lot of the golf community. But at the same time, it allows us to benefit from the true best practices of a company that's in this business, that does this for a living. So we presented that, or proposed that, to the park board. It went to the city council, and in September the city council authorized us to begin the search for the company and the individual who would fill that role. So we went back to the same 4 companies that we had originally interviewed and issued an RFP to those same 4 companies and got 2 responses back. And we spent quite a bit of time talking with both of those companies about this hybrid option, how it would work, any other recommendations they might have. So tonight I'm pleased to report that we recommend Kemper Sports Management as the company to take the next step with. And I'll say in a minute what that means, what the next step is. For those of you that don't know Kemper, they're a Northbrook-based company. They manage over 100 courses nationwide, including 8 golf properties in northern Illinois. And they've been in this business for over 30 years. We chose Kemper for several reasons. First of all, they were the lowest price proposal that we received. Secondly, they're very willing to explore ways to align incentives and tying their compensation to the success of the city and success of DEERPATH, which we found very appealing. They have an exceptional customer service and employee training program. They have an exceptional marketing plan and lots of needed technology for reservation systems, et cetera, that we lack today. And lastly, and this is what really kind of sold me on it, is their knowledge of Lake Forest. The CEO of Kemper, Steve Skinner, their Senior VP of Business Development, Toby Davis, both grew up playing at DEERPATH. They both live here in Lake Forest. They understand what a special course DEERPATH is and what a special community Lake Forest is. They get it, and I sense a real personal commitment on their part to make this successful for all of us. So at this point, I'd like to give Steve Skinner, who's in the audience, a chance to come up, introduce himself, and make a couple comments about this.
Great, thank you, Curt. I just wanted to speak to the committee and tell them how excited we are by the project. As Curt said, we've been in this business for about 30 years. Of our 100 properties, about 40 of them are municipal properties. So the issues facing DEERPATH and the challenges you see are something we see every day and have dealt with. And I commend the city and the committee of getting out ahead of it. A lot of communities wait till it's too far gone and the course is deteriorated. So we're very excited to work with city staff, work with the community, work with the golfers, the men's club, the women's club, and all those golfers out every day to really do 2 things. We see our challenge as a consultant with the city to help improve customer service, improve the golf experience, as well as find ways that the golf course can operate more efficiently, generate higher revenues so it can increase the money it invests back into the golf course. And as Curt mentioned, in addition to our experience in doing this, it is personal to us. Both Toby and I grew up in the community. I played my first round of golf at DEERPATH. I won't tell you what the score was, and it was 30 plus years ago, and now my son and daughter, who are both teenagers, or almost teenagers, play out at DEERPATH as well when I can get them to play golf. So it's a great asset to the community. We understand that, I think, Toby and I and others, and we've communicated to others in the office, that Lake Forest is a different place, a different community. DEERPATH's a different type of asset, and I know there's a lot of anxiety among the members, the annual pass holders and the members out there, but we really have the commitment to working with the city, working with them, and really everything we're going to do is to try to make the experience better for everyone. And we're confident that we can really help the city make a difference and kind of turn around the trends and get it back on track, if you will. So be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Just stay up there if you would, please, for a sec. So I mentioned our recommendation to work with Kemper for the next step, and the next step is actually to finalize the terms of the contract and find the person. Because we all understand that that's going to make this work or not work as the individual that ends up stepping into that role. So what we'd like to do is move ahead with the working through the terms, and there's no action required tonight because we're going to have a special park board meeting on the 29th of November to present the terms of the contract, present the individual, give you a chance to meet him or her, ask him questions. And assuming you approve that, then there'll be a city council vote on this on December 5th. Okay. So tonight is really just informational only, a chance to meet Steve and ask him any questions you may have.
Okay. Do you all have any questions for Steve?
No.
Okay.
Cut off easy.
Thank you. Look forward to working with you.
Thanks,
Great.
Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you. Good. Okay. Next, underneath the golf course report is the proposed fees for fiscal year 13.
And I'm going to take that one. And just to give you a little bit of background, we went back and prepared and put in your packets for you, various information, including comparison of sales that we did last year for all of our membership categories, as well as all of our daily fees, cart fees, rounds, and that kind of thing. And we also did a comparative study, again, of fees in the surrounding municipal courses that we feel are within our competitive market, and that we wanted to find out how we matched up to them with our pricing. And though the comparative fees that were in the Park Board's packet, those are based on their 2011 season, we did try to connect with some of them about fees and where they are going next with this upcoming year. So everybody's a little bit in the same timing as we are working on this right now. But we are seeing some modest increases proposed at some of the courses around us as well. Given the fact that we do have some financial challenges, and given the fact that we know that we are primarily a resident, based golf course. Currently for our memberships, it's primarily a resident membership base. We really had to kind of look at it, our fee structure, understanding those dynamics, when we looked at it overall. And given that, there was a couple opportunities that we saw this next year to try to help strengthen our financials with a pricing approach. And the first thing that we identified and are recommending here tonight was to eliminate the early bird sign-up discount. In the past, we had about 20% of our members took advantage of that, which wasn't a huge number overall. And with that, they received an incentive package that included a variety of things. What we are recommending instead is having just one rate, regardless of when you sign up, for the season. However, we would extend the incentive package to anybody who would sign up by April 1st, so that we would actually try to capture more and encourage more of our members to take out a membership with us and take advantage of those incentives. We know also too a lot of our some of our golf members and do travel during the winter, and they're away when some of our information comes out. So that would be our first recommendation. And the incentive package is a variety of things that the value package is, some free electric golf carts, the free range balls, the 10% over cost on any set of irons, and a free 1 month pass to the Lake Forest Fitness Center. And those would be good from about the time the course opens, which is around March 15th, to April 30th. So really the first 6 weeks of the golf season, members could come out and really take advantage of practicing their swing with free range balls, going out, enjoying the course early in the season with the carts, etc. So it really is trying to get some energy and positive energy from, a bigger pool of individuals during those early months when the course is first opening, and giving something back to them for, doing their membership with us. So that was the first item we recommended. The second thing got into more of the pricing structure. We are recommending an 8% fee increase for all resident membership categories, and that's a $95 increase compared to what it was, last year for our late rate. And so if you look at that right now, if you played on the weekends, it's $50 for your greens fee, and then if you split a cart with somebody, you add the cart fee on, which is another $17. You're at $67 for a round of golf. So this equates to about a round and a half of additional golf fees you might be contributing. And depending on how much you play during the year, this is not a significant jump really, when you look at it from just a dollar perspective. 8% sounds a little scary, but when you look at it from a dollar perspective, it's not a huge jump in income. But it means significant, advantages for us overall, for revenue. It's about, $49,000 additional revenue above last year's fees with that increase. And we ran scenarios, just so you know, we ran scenarios of 4%, 6%, 8%, 10%, 12%, not in every category. We did a lot of different ways to look at this, but really felt that this was the most consistent approach that we thought was realistic and, fair with our golfing community. The second item for a fee increase was the non-resident fee. And we were recommending a 6% fee increase for non-resident membership. And that equated to a $99 increase for them. So you can see both categories of membership, residents or non-residents, are almost contributing equally to, you know, helping us grow revenue this next year. And we really do need to encourage non-resident play at our course in a membership capacity, is hopefully, I think, because then, you know, we know that members tend to respect the course and invest in long-term, you know, being here and using other services of our golf course. So those were the two distinctions we had between the memberships of the 8% and the 6%. And again, regardless of residency or non-residency, if you were to sign up by the April 1st, you would get the, you know, the value package incentive. The next item we did was we were recommending, however, no fee increases to our daily green fees, our cart fees, the locker, range balls, and lottery. Because when you look at the comparative chart on where we are on our daily fees, we're at the top. And that was concerning to us because we don't want to price ourselves out of the market with the daily fees, knowing that this can float. Daily rates can float depending on what we need to drive revenue there. We can put out incentive coupon or, you know, bring a guest with you today. So this is the bench line for the typical approach that we'd want to do and how we would set our budget, knowing that we may need to play with that in order to, you know, accelerate rounds or do some promotional aspects of it. But when residents or non-residents look online and they look at our fees, you know, this is setting the first stage of their perception of what our fee might be. So we don't want to have it so far above everyone else that they don't even bother to call and see if we have a promotion or continue to look at our website to look for an opportunity if the price is different. So we felt that was very important. And the last thing we had was we have a lot of different categories that have evolved in memberships over the years. And we've, you know, tried to be a little bit of all things to all people and try to draw in any group that we could. And when we looked at it, we really felt that there was two areas that we should address. And one was what we call our young adult pass. It was for this very narrow age range, which was the 19 to 22-year-olds. And we felt could just roll into our adult pass. We only had 12 of those membership sales last year, and by making them the adult pass, we would just change the definition of our adult down to age 19, and then they could go, you know, and play for the unlimited, then like just any other adult through the season. Because with that pass in the last, you know, it was restricted to certain time frames. And then the other thing was to eliminate our senior combo 2 adult pass. Because when you look at the fees, if you're a senior, you're already getting a discount off of the individual rate as well. So if you give a second discount because it's a couple, in essence you've given multiple discounts, which really drops the fees down extremely low. And so our recommendation is for the seniors, if there's more than one, they pay individual rates for each senior and don't give the additional couple discount. You know, that they're already receiving almost a $699 discount off an individual rate as it is. So to do that second tier discounting was just hurting us. We know that a lot of our seniors play the course a lot. They have the time and the interest in doing that. So we want to be, you know, make sure that pricing approach is not doing too much discounting in that area. So so that was the key changes we are recommending for this next year. We based our revenue projections on trying to reestablish back to the rate of use that we had in 2009, which was, you know, a couple seasons ago. It wasn't a significantly weather impacted year, but it was attainable, and we didn't feel this growth that we're projecting is still very conservative, showing, you know, approximately 22 new members to hit our first, you know, this revenue here. Obviously, we want to grow beyond 22 members, but from a budget perspective, we felt that was a realistic strategy to do. And then growing rounds, daily rounds, by about 1,300 rounds, because again, we did that in 2009, and we'd achieved that years before that at a much higher level even. So we're trying to get back really to not what we've done the last 2 years, but to get us back to 2009. So those were some of the thought processes we had. You know, we did look at this, as I mentioned, in comparative to other courses around us. And we think with the right marketing, we think with the right, customer service and doing more with our websites and things like that, that we can grow revenue there, but we want to make sure our pricing isn't put us out of the ballpark of what people would be willing to pay or come try DEERPATH and then hopefully become members of ours. So, is there questions I can answer now on the fees that we've put together?
Are Lake Bluff considered residents or non-residents?
Lake Bluff is considered residents for us, as is if Lake Forest resident goes to play Lake Bluff, they're considered residents there. It's a strategy, I guess, because we do view them as one of our biggest competition, and they created a situation allowing our residents to be residents of there. So we had reciprocated.
Good. Okay.
Mary, I know these decisions have been made independent of Kemper intentionally, but have they had a chance to look at this and just make sure
they
that it
gave
makes
us some
sense?
feedback on it. I think that overall they, were very helpful as far as making sure that we looked at things from not just one perspective, categories of memberships, pricing, long-term opportunities that we had. They didn't tell us what to do, but they gave us some direction as far as, equity, and we're, focusing on this is a resident amenity for the most part, and so you have to begin your focus on your residents because they're the biggest bulk of your customer. Just helping us, I think intuitively we always look at that, but it reinforced that approach for us and kind of made us, look at this a little more closely this year in particular, and to not be too tentative on what we were doing with fees because we do have some revenue challenges that we have to address. So, but they didn't tell us any direction to go with it. They just gave us some feedback in looking at our structure. So.
Thanks.
Mary, could you remind us of past increases?
Sure. Well, last year we did in the past we've had the two-tier structure, so we've had the early bird followed by after February 15th second rate. So last year as an example we did a 4% increase if you were early bird with a 6% late fee. The year before, and I'm trying to remember, I'm pretty sure we did a 6% and an 8%, so it was an additional 2, so it was 8%. So we've kind of been in that ballpark, and we are unusually aggressive compared to what other municipalities have done a little bit in that, but we also saw that we were catching up in some ways. If you look at our price and where we're going to fall, we're within $80 of our key competition and how they're pricing themselves for their resident draw. So we're still within that ballpark. Yeah.
Okay. Good. Any other questions? Lauren? Okay.
With that, then could we get a motion, though, to approve the recommended fees? Oh,
Sure.
well, let's wait till after comment. Never mind. We'll wait till after
Okay.
comment. I'm
All
sorry.
right. That's okay. Next, the status of the Golf Advisory Committee.
Yes, this is just more of an update. We did have the closing date for application to the Golf Committee was last Friday. So we did have some come in right at the last minute. So we'll be using this week to review all the applications and get a good sense of what our opportunities are there. I have to, send appreciation to everybody who's expressed interest in serving on the Golf Committee. I think we've got a strong, solid candidate pool from what has been submitted, and it'll be, we haven't spent a lot of time going through every single detail on them yet. That's what we're trying to do this week. But we had a nice mix throughout the community of a lot of good people with, seemed like, a variety of backgrounds to really offer some assistance to us this next year. So we are going to review those this week and then contact the contact the applicants next week so they kind of know where they are in this selection process. And then we would announce who is, city manager will announce it at the November 21st city council meeting on who he's appointing.
Okay.
So, and it'll be 7 to 9 members, if you recall, that we were looking at selecting from. So.
Okay. Great. And then lastly, for the golf course report, we have a presentation by Richard Franklin of Circle Systems Golf for our winter indoor golf studio.
While Richard's coming up, I just wanted to mention that it's been a pleasure. Richard's been with us the last couple of years and has really been an exciting addition to DEERPATH, and we were so pleased to hear that he had all these great new ideas he wanted to bring to us, and it was a perfect timing in many ways to be able to have his skill and his abilities here in our community already, and that we can expand that, and that's kind of what he's going to share with you tonight. So,
well, thanks very much for that, and thank you for the chance to speak with you all tonight. I thought I'd take this opportunity to kind of introduce myself to those that don't know me, and some ideas pertaining to a new winter campaign, and then going forward next year in the spring and summertime. My name is Richard Franklin, as Mary alluded to, and my teaching company, Circle Systems Golf, has been at DEERPATH now for 2 years. A little bit about me. I'm born and raised Hinsdale, Illinois, west suburb guy. Graduated 2007, University of Arizona. Shortly thereafter, played professionally for 2 years on the Canadian tour. I'm an authorized MORAD instructor, most you will not be familiar with that, and a certified flight scope instructor. As of 2009, I created Circle Systems Golf, originally as a corporate and private golf school, outing and event management in the wintertime, Arizona and California, and then approached DEERPATH Golf Course in the summer of 2010 and became an independent contractor, and have been there ever since. So I thought I'd talk a little bit, kind of in chronological order here, starting with some ideas we have for winter golf instruction at DEERPATH. Very excited. Starting actually this Saturday, we'll have an open house. We're going to be converting what is the restaurant area at the club into state-of-the-art indoor instruction facility. So we'll have a pretty serious hitting bay in there, 10 by 10 by 10. The main feature of the program will be flight scope, which is 3D Doppler radar technology, which I'll talk about here in a minute. Swing Catalyst software, which I'll go into here in a minute as well. As far as how it'll be offered, we'll be consistent here. We'll be offering daily private instruction. As always, there's a specific to juniors, so there'll be an after-school program. And then hopefully we'll have a strong push here for the holiday season for gift certificates and the like. So talking a little bit about exactly what's going to be in the studio. I have acquired a flight scope, a 3D Doppler tracking radar, which is basically just a fancy way of saying it's a very sophisticated launch monitor. So inside the studio we'll have this device, and basically every shot that you hit, it'll capture and record all the analytics based on the collision of that shot. So, we're talking somewhere 20 to 22 parameters per that club head and club face at impact. So, basically in real time, in its most basic setting, you'll see on the right-hand side there, the player is going to see a projection of the golf ball, starting point, flight, curvature, and then in more detail, we can talk about angle of descent, club face, path. Seems like a lot of information, but just from working with it here in early stages, it's really amazing. It accelerates the learning curve of the players. For me as an instructor, it's an invaluable piece of machinery. Really looking forward to not only using it this winter, but throughout the season. Completely wireless, very user-friendly. So, as an added benefit, players can come in with a iPhone, any kind of tablet device, and beforehand have a flight scope app and download all the information that we recorded during the lesson. So, really a nice way to have the player take home some of the information. For those of you who have hit into a net, it can be somewhat of a monotonous exercise, but with the flight scope, it really reinvigorates the whole experience. They can quote unquote see where the ball goes, you know, per what's happening on the monitor, and it's really pretty exciting. So going forward, I just wanted to kind of briefly touch on some ideas that I have for the upcoming season, spring and summer. As what's always been a priority to me is maximizing junior participation at the club. This year we had a really nice uptick in junior participation in the summer camps. I run a 3-week camp, which is Monday through Friday, 3 hours. We have a morning and an afternoon session, a 9 to noon and a 1 to 4, and that's on a 3-week cycle. We had 27 participants this year, which was a really nice number. You know, just kind of let you know what I'm thinking is, DEERPATH is, as we all know, a unique asset, and something that I think has been underappreciated by the youngsters in the area. And to give you kind of a sense of where I'd like to take it is, traditionally we have 75 to 100 juniors come in for and every Friday for 4 Fridays at the beginning of the summer, just a little brief tutorial, grip, stance, your basic things. My hope is to retain more of that initial interest that we get in the beginning of the summer, and give them a menu of options, whether it be the everyday camp or something in between. But having all the services kind of under one umbrella, I think, is going to be really key. So, I'm looking forward to continued growth. Having the kids come in after school during the wintertime will be just a nice way to have some continuity in the golf course, and I think it's going to be just a spectacular summer. As far as adult instruction goes, kind of have some new ideas as far as kind of restructuring the program. In years past, there's only been a spring and a fall adult class, if you will. I think that needs to be changed. I think utilizing the most popular months of the year, June through August, having some later in the afternoon programming, just offering more accessibility to the club, after work times, and then having some specialty classes using the flight scope. Just as an example, I can have somebody come in and have the flight scope set up in 3 minutes. They can give me a 5-ball sample of their driver shots, and utilizing just one of the many flight scope features, the driver optimization. I hate to get into detail, but I can alter dynamic loft, launch conditions, and I can get that person hitting it 8 yards further in a 10-ball window. So I think that's just a great way to, as Mary was talking about, getting some excitement going in our players early in the season, giving them something else to help them work on their game. So I think, as well as improvements in the junior instruction, we've got some great ideas as far as adult instruction goes. So that's basically just a little overview of what I hope to accomplish this winter and going forward. And again, thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Richard. And thanks for fixing my slice, by the way.
You're welcome.
I only remember what you told me that day.
Can I just mention too, I think with Richard, one of the things I was really excited about is that I think if you're new to the game of golf, it's intimidating to have to just walk out there and know what to do and go play a round of golf. And I think what's really neat about some of the things Richard's been doing is, as part of his lesson, he introduces you on and takes you out onto the course to play a couple holes and get you, feeling more familiar with some of the etiquette, or, introduce you to, it's just the simplest things that, you don't really know the first time you've ever visited a golf course. And I think he just kind of ramps down that anxiety and gets you excited about continuing to expand and play on your own. And I think for a lot of the beginner golfers, whether it's youth or adult, that's just a really great aspect to do. And then those for the long-term golfers, he's been talking about doing, those things like focus clinics on your short game, your drives, so that, again, you can just fine-tune something that you've been struggling with. He's going to provide those kinds of resources for people. So it's not just the simple lesson anymore. It's, really integrating everything you need to know to enjoy the game of golf and go out on the course, and be successful and have fun at it. So
Yeah, I mean, on that note, we've had some success having, women-specific clinics. I think there's some hesitation on women to come in and take private instruction, and, they're more comfortable taking it with their friends, and, we try to create a very unintimidating, friendly environment where, as Mary's alluding to, we get them on the golf course as soon as possible, let them know it's not that different from hitting balls on the driving range. And I think a major focus of what I'm trying to do, and in collaboration with Mary and Jeff, is just building that bridge, getting more bodies on the driving range to start, and then getting them onto the golf course. I think that can be a bit of a jump for some people. So just trying to make that whole experience friendlier and better and less time consuming, I think, is the goal.
Great. Any questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, as I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, we'll take some comments or questions regarding anything we've talked about for the DEERPATH Golf Course Report. If there's anybody in the audience who'd like to come up and speak. Again, I know you know this, but please state your name and your address and come to the podium, please. Thank you. No, we do. Thank you for coming.
My name is Mary Lou Reed. I live at 1715 West Broadland Lane. I guess it wasn't a surprise that Kemper Management was picked. We don't even know who the other contestant was, but not a surprise, knowing the relationship between the alderman and Steve Skinner. Disappointing we didn't know who the other contenders were, though. I'm also disappointed in the fee schedule for the coming year. 8% for residents. Residents are taxpayers in this town. We pay into Park and Rec. We pay tax dollars. I know you're trying to raise revenue, but we already pay revenue. We don't use swing sets. We don't use soccer fields. I think that the people who are residents and who play golf are entitled to get their share of Park and Rec money into the golf course. And that could be by not raising our fees 8%. Non-residents who pay no tax dollars, you're only charging them $4 more increase in revenue. Boy, that's, I just can't tell you how disappointing that is. That's really unbelievable. And then I hear that we do use the golf course during the winter for park and recreational activities, such as cross-country skiing. What fees are paid by those people who cross-country ski on the golf course? Because we know that all the golfers who go out there pay fees. So I'd like to ask that Parks and Rec take a look at your budget and really take a look at this fee schedule. Because an 8% increase for some of our seniors, that's pretty tough in this economy. I'm in 3 golf leagues here, and I am a senior citizen myself. And I know that some of the other ladies are living on fixed incomes, and this increase is going to be tough for these ladies. And it's really just terribly disappointing. Don't know what else to say about that. It's the golf committee. I don't know. I'd like some other information on what the golf advisory committee is supposed to do, because if the fees are already set, if the management's already set, what are the duties of the golf advisory committee? We can come up with some, like great ideas. I mean, Groupon and great greens fees and everything else, so that, the average person who doesn't live in Lake Forest can get a greater greens fees coupon. and come out there and pay less than a member pays for a round of golf. Plus, they get a free golf cart. And I'm sure that the Groupon rate would do the same thing. So that the real people that are carrying this golf course are the members. And to have this kind of increase, I don't know. I mean, maybe you'd have to ratchet down what that part of it would be. Just want you to think about it, but I think that the golf course deserves some part of the park and rec money that you take in, because different people do different things in this town for recreation. Some bike, some walk, some use the beach, some play golf. I think we're all entitled to our fair share. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other comments from the audience? Okay. Any comments or questions from the board before we make a motion to accept the proposed fees, or where would we like to go with the proposed fees?
Well, I have a question. Why, and she made a very good point, why is it only a 6% increase for out-of-towners? Why
Well,
wouldn't it be more for them and less for our residents?
Well, we looked at it from a dollar amount, and they're using the course and contributing to the course, whether it's, you know, food and beverage or what have you. We do need to grow membership, and that is a way to have some parity and contribution towards this next year, but also allow us to still continue to draw potential non-members to our course. And so that, I mean, a non-resident can pay a resident fee at their course, so they're to come here, they're willing to pay a premium to come here. We don't want to make it so exponentially high that, you know, they wouldn't choose us as a membership option. So that's part of it. And I think that, you know, the non-resident, we have increased their fees just as we have residents over the years. You know, they've kept pace with that. So we looked at it from a dollar amount more so than the percentage. And again, they are paying a little bit more than the resident, but not exponentially. You need to encourage membership here.
But if we lose our own members, then we're kind of shooting ourselves in the foot.
Right. And I think, though, you know, you're getting in, it's almost a mentality of, you know, it's either them or it's us out here. And it's what we're trying to say is everybody's contributing to this golf course, and we need all particular facets of people to come play this golf course. And I think that that's important that we start to embrace that welcome environment to get as many people who just want to play the game of golf and take away their residency issue as the reason for how we structure whether they come in and contribute money to our course. So I think that's an important aspect. And I'll tell you, from the non-resident side, I've heard the other argument. The non-residents have said there's no tax dollars that's been going into this golf course over all these years, and so why am I having to pay more money as a non-resident for this course when, you know, it'd be different in some of our other services. That's kind of the offsetting aspect about it. You know, why residents get a rate that they do is because their taxes go towards it. We haven't done that in the golf course. And so we have non-residents who are coming here saying, why am I paying a lot higher fee if, you know, it's not the difference between the taxes that go into it? So I can see both sides of that. So
If I'm reading this chart correctly, this past year, there were only 33 non-member adults, correct, with a seasonal fee?
that's correct.
And then we had 152 members.
Residents.
Residents.
Yeah. Yeah, that was budgeted. I think the actual 126.
So in 12, we had a total of 69 non-residents. Okay, and 411 residents.
That was, okay.
Okay,
What's the column next to it? What does YEE mean?
year-end estimate.
Oh, okay.
That's where we.
Oh, so really, we budgeted.
Wait, I'm sorry, you're right. So we had 51. We had 51 non-residents.
Okay.
Okay, so it's compared to 327 residents. So also, too, if you're going to look at where we're going to grow revenue, we have to look at where our volume, too, is. And it's the resident side of it that we have to look at that. Now, we aren't trying to make this huge dollar amounts here. You know, we're trying to make it a reasonable increase, but $2 here and $3 on a membership for an entire year of golf isn't going to get us where we need to be to make sure that we can cover our expenses and keep this course. And we're not trying to price things for 1 year. We're trying to make sure that we're looking proactively forward, you know, for what we need to do. And quite honestly, at the public meeting on August 30th, we heard a lot of the members say this is very valuable to them, and they are willing and feel that our rates are very reasonable, and that they would like to make sure that this course, you know, continues to function as close to its current, you know, structure as possible going forward. And this is, you know, somewhat what we need some commitment from our golfers that they're willing to do that. So.
Mary, let me ask a question, and please don't anybody read anything into it, but it's sort of the opposite of Lauren's question. If the course is not taxpayer supported, that is, it's all fee-based, why differentiate at all between residents and non-residents?
And that's a good question. I think that is something we will need to investigate as we work on this business plan with our consultant next year. It is something we should look at. There are courses around us who have eliminated residency or non-residency. I do worry from the fact that in the event that there is a shortfall, and you know, it's hard to predict, like this last year with weather, that then usually comes back to you know, utilizing resources from, you know, residents to do that. So as much as we can encourage the non-resident participation, you know, that's kind of been the goal. But I think it's something we do need to look at, and we could look at, because, you know, I do think that there's individuals who come and play DEERPATH that think it's a great course, but the non-resident fee compared to what they might pay at their local course is a challenge, you know, for them to justify it. So I think it's a good question, Bob, one that we should look at.
October was a great weather month, and so was the first week of this month. How did we do? Did we?
We did well. I was like, woohoo! We had a good good month, and I don't have the actual numbers to tell you to where we think we'll end up with the end of the year. It did help us, but it's not the volume that you're going to make up losing June and July storm impacts that we had. But well, I'm thankful for it. We should have a better sense probably at the end of November when we have to reconcile a lot of our pro shop items and commitments on that, and we'll have a better sense of really where we're going to be for the year end. So,
great.
Mary, I'm looking at the same table that Robin was just pointing you to, and it looks like we're projecting an increase in resident pass holders from 327 to 349.
correct.
Was there discussion about the potential of losing some members because of this fee increase?
Well, we might, but we're hoping that this is a very minimal number of memberships. We'd like to grow memberships beyond this. I mean, I think we'll see we could lose a few members, but we also might gain some new members.
Okay.
So that's where it's a little bit of an unknown, you know, for us. But you know, we went conservative.
So you feel these are conservative then, taking into account? Okay.
Yeah.
Last year we budgeted for 11. We were at 327. What was actually the year before that made us think that we could get 411?
Well, we saw a significant drop this last year in our single adults went down, but we did pick up some in our limited pass, which was that new pass we did, was like the punch card we picked up. 23 people purchased that. The other area that we saw really was the juniors, and I think we're still seeing that impact in the economic uncertainty and parents pulling back a little bit and saying, if my youth is going to go play golf, they'll just pay a daily fee and we'll see how much they play, and then I'll decide if I want to take a pass out again the next year. So that's where we really kind of saw those numbers did not come out to be what we had hoped. As you can see, we had around 114 juniors the year before, and we dropped down to 60, and that's pretty significant for us. And Chris did make some calls to the juniors and talk to the families and things like that. The good news is they did do some lessons with Richard, and they did a few more things with our camps, but we didn't have the membership taken out like we'd like. We'd like to reinvigorate that. We'd like to, try to grow that. But again, you can see here, we didn't say we were going to do that financially because we don't know how quickly we can regrow that and
Well, I was
get
going to
that number
say,
back.
the projection is fairly conservative. I mean, we pretty much kept the projections at our actuals for the year end, other than the single adults.
Correct.
So, I mean, that's, you know,
That was exactly
Yeah.
right. We looked at this as hopefully the minimum budget of around, you know, as I mentioned, almost 51,000 for memberships. We hope to do better than that, but this, again, when we do our revenue projections, it's very conservative.
Yep.
And then we need to scale our expense side of it to make sure
Right.
that we can hopefully get as close to this, you know, net that we need as, at the end of the day, so.
Okay. Great. Any other questions? Comments? Can do.
Your motion?
Yeah, I'd love to get a motion.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Motion passes. All right. Next on our agenda is the Lakefront 2011 season report and fiscal year 13 proposed fees. Our Superintendent of Special Facilities, Jeff Waite, will be presenting.
Thank you, and good evening. This is the Forest Park Beach 2011 review, and what I have done is I've broken down the beach operation into two parts, the beach operation and the basin, trying to cover similar topics: hours of operation, staffing, attendance, programming. The rental program and the permits are special to the basin. But then we'll provide some recommendations for the 2012 season and provide a question and answering period. The beach is open year-round. Although that it is open year-round, it is only staffed, full complement of staff, beginning after after 2 weeks after the Memorial Day weekend. And this is really in part because of the timing of when schools let out, when we get the college students back. So their availability is an issue. We do have an opportunity to provide in-depth staff training during that 2-week period of time. And of course, the weather and water temperatures aren't really conducive to seeing a lot of attendance out there as well. And overall, it's just more cost-effective to do it this way. Now, to run a safe and effective facility, we have 16 lifeguards on staff, 2 of which are assistant beach managers. Now they're going to rotate throughout the day. So on the weekend, I believe we have 10 that operate, as well as the assistant manager. And then on the weekends, we also have 26 beach guards. These are the young people that staff all the access points to the beach, so that we can make sure that residents are having access, as well as charging the non-residents for their access. So overall, for the beach operations, we do have 42 part-time staff that we employ for the summer. This is the monthly attendance for the beach, and you can see there is the last 4 years of operations. For this year, we are 12% down from last year, but looking at some of like the red flag closings, we are significantly higher. That is mostly due to the high winds, which creates the waves, which stir up the bottom, so we get the high bacteria counts, and the wetness of the season also just didn't allow for a lot of attendance down at the beach. So we did have a higher number of red flag closings. Because of that lower attendance, we didn't have as many overflow parking days, only by 2. So, and then we had 2 less full capacity. That's where they're at the north end, the south end of the beach, as well as the tabletop. We do offer a variety of programming and special events down at the beach. We do have fitness classes, which have become really popular down there. We do offer a TRX class, a boot camp. Yoga's has been down there for a few years and very successful. We do offer senior center art classes down there, and there's a variety of different sailing and sailboard classes. We do have camps that attend down at the down there. There's sports camps, Superstars, Twigs, art camps. We do offer a junior lifeguard camp. Special events, we do the Smeltorama. There is the North Shore Cup Regatta and a movie at the beach, and I believe this year it was Despicable Me. For the basin, hours of operations, we really operate Memorial Day through Labor Day. We do have a smaller complement of staff that work throughout the weekday and weekend, 6. And during that time, they do assist getting boats in and out of the water. They sell daily launching watercraft launches, and they're down there during those times. This is the first year that we will report on the monthly attendance. As you can see, 651 launches. That does not include the 34 daily watercraft launches that we do as well. Now, we do offer a rental program of kayaks, sailboards, and sailboats. And you see we saw great improvement over last year, and this is really making sure that we have a staff person down there to assist and to make sure that we're selling those opportunities for everyone. And we're going to improve that quite a bit for next year, as we are going to get paddle boards for rentals as well. And that's kind of really a big fitness opportunity that I think that's really going to help our rental program. Now, the basin permits, we have 191 registered families. We do offer the in-finch storage. We do sand rack storages, and they can do it just by on the season, or they can do year-round. We do a lot of different permits. With that, there's some recommendations that we have. We are suggesting a 4% increase on all boat permit fees, with the exception of the senior caregiver, the nanny and resident guest parking passes. Those will remain the same. That is $10. The non-resident beach access pass will also stay at $10. However, with the senior seasonal and the senior yearly storage, we are suggesting a significant increase. Right now, most of the other senior rates for permits are discounted 25%. These are anywhere from 48 to 51% discounted. So what we're proposing is to bring those up so they reflect a 25% discount as well. So with a seasonal storage, they'll see a significant increase. Anywhere they will go from $596 to $923, and for a yearly it will go $818 to $1363. It is significant, but it does put it in line with all the other pricing philosophies of discounting 25%. How we got there, we're not really sure, but it really is time to kind of correct that to make it consistency and fairness. So,
can I ask a question on that?
Yeah.
Do you have to correct it all in 1 year?
I thought about that, and at this point, they're still going to be playing catch up because every next year we'll probably put on another percentage increase. So I feel it's probably just best to rip the Band-Aid right now. Take the hard hit this coming year rather than every year, step it up 2-3 years.
You could give them a 30% raise or a 40% raise over 2-3 years, and you will have caught up if you're raising other fees 4%.
Sure. We could, if
that's something
how many
you would like
seasonal?
us to look at.
How many?
10.
How many? So there's 10.
Yeah. Yes.
What if you lose half?
Right.
My guess is the storage is quite a popular aspect. We're at capacity. I think that if we lose some, that there's a waiting list that people can fill that in, and I think Hunter or Brian, is that fair to say? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
We do have.
Sure.
Yeah, we can hear you, Hunter.
Okay. We do have, as of right now, we do.
Folks at home can hear you.
As of right now, we do have a lot of interest in sailboat storage inside the yard. On the racks, there's a lot of vacancies. So that's not really an issue. So over the next couple of years, if we do lose some, there's always interest in, more people coming available to take those slots. But, obviously we don't want to lose anyone. So.
How does our seasonal storage fee, the roughly $1,200 for residents, compare to, say, keeping a boat up in Waukegan, a 24-foot boat? I mean, how are we?
Right. It's very difficult to compare our facility to others. So, it's a difficult comparison because of just the unique nature of what we're able to offer as compared to Waukegan, Winnetka, or Wilmette. So, and at this point, we did not do a comparison just because of that difficulty. I mean, we could do the comparison. It's just it's not comparing apples to apples.
No, I realize, but it just seems to me that $1,200 is a bargain. Compared, I suspect that it's quite a bit more to keep a boat
Sally.
in the water up
If you want,
at
you can come
Waukegan.
up here and talk.
Well, what I would say with that is, we are a unique facility with that we have, we dry sail our boats. Where somewhere like Waukegan, you're paying for a slip service, which is an in-the-water service, which is significantly more expensive. I guess the closest facility to ours would be Highland Park, where they do offer on-site storage out of the water. However, they do not have the facility to be able to accommodate the watercraft that is primarily stored at our facility. So we're kind of the only facility in the North Shore, and really, the only facility on the North Shore that offers dry saleable storage on site.
Oh, and that's a positive.
Yes, that's a big
That's
positive.
positive.
The closest place would be in the city,
Okay.
and their rates are much higher.
Okay. And good? Okay. Thank you.
We're just asking for approval to propose the fee structure as presented, and then just be directed to seek approval from the city council. Any other additional questions?
Jeff, I got a question. In the write-up, it has a $8,800 revenue bump if these fees go into effect.
Yes.
So you must have made some assumptions about how many of these permits we're gonna,
Yes.
that we're not gonna lose any permit. I mean, what were your
I
assumptions?
don't
and-
anticipate, because of the uniqueness of the facility, I personally don't see losing any. And if we did, I think that we could easily replace if someone did pull out.
So it's basically the same numbers of permits with these new rates is how you
Yes.
got the $8,800. Okay, thank you.
How do you estimate, well, it's somewhat of a fee aspect, but how do you estimate beach visitors? I mean, is there a physical count? Is there an estimation process?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
The beach visitors on a monthly basis, how do you gather that count?
That's a very good question. Sally, could you help me out here?
Good evening, everybody.
Sarah.
Visitor counts are taken at each of the access points. We did actually add a staff member to the resident stairs because that's a number that we have been missing in the past and felt we needed to add it to our numbers. So we, any car that comes in and the people that are in the car, they're counted. Anybody that walks in is counted. So it's taken by staff on a daily basis.
So these are actual numbers. These are not estimated numbers.
So these are actual, then do you have a breakdown of paid versus residents?
Yes. And I'm gonna say, I think you guys are, this is a number that I don't have at the top of my head, but I want to say we are at the 13,000 mark.
For paid or for residents?
It's 13,000 we brought in, so 1,300 paid coming in.
And that's weekends only.
That's weekends only, weekends and holidays,
Weekend only non-residents.
and non-residents.
And is that estimated to go up or down in this in this revenue plan?
Are you, I would say we're going to remain about the same. We went up by about 100 this year. What we're finding is that our non-resident users have moved to a community to the south that's not charging. Basically, Fort Sheridan.
Yeah.
So we stay about the same.
Thank you.
Sure. Thanks, Sally. Any other questions or comments for Jeff or Sally? Or? Okay.
Do you want to have us entertain anything different with that non-resident, I mean the senior rate, or do you want us to look at what we're proposing?
Well, with the senior rate, I think, you know, even though it's only 10 people, if you're going to spring an increase like that on them, which is one of a kind and unique to any fee structures we've talked about, I think you need to come up with some 2-year, 3-year catch-up plan.
Okay.
You know, I think it's just going to be too big of a shock. I mean, I get the logic. I don't disagree with it should be like other senior programs, but I think if you're essentially doubling it, you know, you're going to create more problems than.
Would you feel more comfortable with a 2-year or a 3-year step?
Either one. I think if you do it as a 2-year, I think if you tell them, here's where we're going to get you, and it's going to be over 2 years, you know, or 3 years. Yeah, I'm indifferent to either one of those. I just think it needs to be
More gradual.
more gradual. Particularly since they're seniors and we've heard some might be on fixed incomes.
Yes, we have. Okay, how about if we have a motion to approve the proposed fee structure as presented, with the exception of using a step-type plan for the increase in the senior resident rate for seasonal year-round boat storage. Does that make sense? And leave it to your discretion as to whether you think a 2-year or 3-year?
Okay.
Well, we can modify that before we take it to council on the 21st.
Sure.
And
Perfect.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you so much. And Jeff is just going to stay there because he's next on our agenda as
Yes.
well, about the Lake Forest Fitness Center.
Yes. Recently, the city attorney suggested to staff, or recommended to staff, that we bring to city council fees for the fitness center membership, since it is similar to the lakefront and the golf memberships. So we are bringing that for the first time this year. In your packet, attached to the memorandum or the cover sheet, is a chart of a comparison for all the local fitness centers, both public and private, that we feel that are in our competition market. And you can see that for an individual, we're at 341, and our primary competition is the Lake Bluff Park District, and they're at 320.26, and this is our rate would be for the 2012 fiscal year. I'm sorry, 2013. This is their current rate. Where they're going to increase, we don't know. They're still, again, very similar to golf. They're still going through the budget process, so this is what they are currently at this year. But they're looking at their non-resident rate of $520. That we're still, we're very much below that. And as well as if you look at our non-resident rate, we're still trying to attract those non-residents to come to the fitness center. We are also suggesting that we drop the enrollment fees. Currently they're at, I believe they're at $86 right now.
68 and 81.
Yeah, 68 and 81. So we're going to drop that down to $50 for both resident and non-resident as an attraction to get members to enroll, because they're really looking at those extra fees as burdensome. So by us saying they're dropping those, we're going to be able to attract those non-residents as well.
Can I ask a question? As you
Sure.
as you compare the our facility to other towns in the college, is that, there's got to be a qualitative difference between these. Is that taken into consideration?
Qualitative?
Yeah, I mean, you know, is the recreation facility at the Park District of Highland Park, it's newer, it's bigger, it's X, it's Y, and you know, so comparing rates necessarily doesn't reflect, you know, the right answer here.
Right. Looking at the list, our biggest and probably the closest to our size, I believe, is Lake Bluff. When you get into, say, you know, Lifetime Fitness or Lake Forest Health and Fitness, it's structurally different. I mean, they are a lot bigger. They're all inclusive. So we are much different in those two aspects. So did that answer the question?
Well, I'm just wondering if you know, the price that you're proposing we charge is, you know, don't consider the other places, because if you consider, you know, a Lake Forest resident fee of $341, you know, that's $635 if I go to Highland Park.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's not going to happen until you get more than $635.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, are these fees enough to meet the costs of running the business rather than comparable to other cities?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
Can I add one other thing to it? You're right, because we aren't apples to apples in some of these scenarios. We do have members who also then take classes, and they're paying the class fee on, you know, in addition to this, or using childcare services. So when you start bundling, you know, the different things they might use from us, then that gets us up. Really, they're paying similar, you know, almost to Lake Forest Health and Fitness, without maybe having all the full, you know, amenities that club can also offer. So we've tried to look at it from, you know, adding those other aspects to it too. So, but yes,
That only matters if the other places offer the same classes.
possibly, or yeah.
You
I
know,
mean,
if Lake Forest Health and Fitness
there's
doesn't offer the
strength,
same
there's
class.
conditioning, there's Zumba, there's, you know what I mean, yoga. So those are things that we have to kind of take into consideration. But yeah.
Jeff, I'm struck by you touched on this a bit, and maybe I didn't hear you correctly, but the difference between resident, non-resident in Lake Bluff, there's a 60% delta. We are at a 20% difference. So there's a philosophical difference there. We're approaching it very differently. Why is our non-resident so much lower than Lake Bluff's as a percentage of the fee?
Jeff, would you like me? I can answer that.
Yes.
And I don't want to misspeak too much here, but where they draw their non-resident members, for them is part of their pricing strategy. So,
Where they, say that again?
well, Lake Bluff, where they're drawing non-residents from, you know, and they have a very strong membership base from Lake Forest and Lake Bluff, so they aren't really encouraging the non-resident membership sale.
They're trying to discourage certain people from coming?
I'm not saying that, I'm just saying that that's a pricing strategy that I think, in order to make sure they've got enough capacity for what they've identified as residents.
So the flip side of that is we must be trying to attract non-residents with the bargain that we're offering them. Is that true?
It could be, but we have not seen that as a problem. We have very limited non-resident use clients.
How is membership from last year to this year? I mean, did we go down? Did we stay the same? Did we gather? Did we increase membership?
I believe we're down. I'm sorry, I don't have that percentage in front of me, but I believe we are down slightly.
Slightly. Okay.
Yes.
So we got 1,309 members. Roughly how many of them are non-residents, Mary?
Well, here, you can look here.
9, 10, 11,
Sorry, I got
The non-resident.
too many
number for
numbers here.
everyone.
I know.
16,
So-
28, 56?
Yeah.
56
Yeah.
out of 1,309.
Not a lot.
Wow.
So again, very conservative estimates for next year, just keeping our membership as is.
Yes.
And okay. Any other questions for Jeff? Any other comments? Okay.
And again, we're just seeking approval to the to approve the proposed fee structure for FY 2013 as presented and direct us to seek approval from City Council.
Can I get a motion to approve the proposed fee structure?
So moved.
Second?
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great, the motion passes. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jeff. Okay, next on the agenda is our proposed Parks and Recreation Capital Improvement Plan for fiscal year 13 through 17, which I will be presenting. Just a little background on this. The City Council requires that each of the areas of the city put together capital projects and be put into priority 1, 2, or 3 category. Priority 1 is the most urgent and highly recommended for funding. Priority 2, if funding is available, then it should be considered. And priority 3 is unlikely unless a donation or other funding sources are available. So we had a committee of the whole meeting a few weeks back, and we took the 9 or 8 priority 1 funding for the fiscal year 13, and we had a discussion, and we were asked to rank those as to how we felt what was the most important to be funded on down, and it will be taken to the City Council for their approval and their ranking and what will get funded. Hopefully, we're crossing our fingers that everything will be funded. We also have a number of funding mechanisms for what we're asking for. The 4 different funding mechanisms that our priority or capital improvement came from were rec operation and fund surplus, which we have. Bob Kiley felt one of our options could come out of that. We have 7 projects requested for funding via the city's capital fund, which is what the meeting was about. All these funds will go together with the other areas of the city and fight each other out. Next is our projects which are in a park and public land fund from impact fees, which we have about $141,000 left. And then finally, the project funded from the remaining Route 60 debt issue for the referendum. So we felt that the projects that were most important was the sailboat storage yard resurfacing. The asphalt and the concrete replacement has been put off for over 5 years. The asphalt is at least 15 years or older. We felt this was rather important as it is a funding mechanism. We do get money for our projects from the beach and from the sailboat rentals. Right now it's about $190,000. It could be lower than that, it could be higher than that, but that's just our placeholder for that right now. And that is the project that Bob Kiley felt could come out of our operation fund surpluses. Then for the next 7 projects, we ranked them amongst how we felt the priority, safety for our residents, safeties for the staff, and what we thought was most important. Number 2, to be put into the capital fund would be the HVAC replacement at Everett School. This is for the preschool classroom. We're replacing 2 units that are 14 years old, average 1 repair per month for right now, and that would cost about $30,000. Next on our list was the fitness cardio equipment. Again, this is a 5-year replacement plan. We try to replace equipment, certain equipment every year, so we're not doing it all at once. This is, again, essential for revenue generation. Wood floor replacement. This is in our 4 racquetball, squash, and studio courts. It has been sanded so many times that the nail heads are being exposed, and it's a potential safety issue, and it's used quite often. Again, another revenue source. That's at $70,000. Next would be the annual tree replacement program. This is a replacement of Parkway Park trees due to the EAB, DED, storm damage, and etc. And this supports the city's tree preservation ordinance. $50,000. The beach revetment wall survey. Our beach is 25 years old, and we'll be celebrating that anniversary this year. And we are going to do an assessment of the stone movement and the wall conditions. These are the walls that are in the water, and there has been some movement, and we want to see where we are at that, and if there's any foreseeable issues coming forward, and something we may need to look at down the road. And that is $30,000. Sterling Hall exterior painting. The metal window frames, columns, and trim. Extremely cold in the winter for program participants, and it's not energy efficient, and that's $20,000. And lastly, under the city's capital fund would be the plastic lockers and benches. This is in the rec center public rooms. They're missing, inoperable lockers, and broken benches, and this is $40,000. And I think they haven't been fixed in ever, right? Ever? Okay.
They've been repaired to when we could, and at the point we couldn't repair, and we've taken the doors off or
Right.
removed the locks. So.
And some of the benches are missing? And
Yes,
Okay.
and benches. have
So
been broken.
total that we're hoping to receive from the city capital fund, if everything is funded, would be $270,000. From projects in our park and public land fund, number one, these are actually both number one, pavilion lighting protection. So this is system-wide park pavilion protection. So this would be a lightning protection at every single pavilion and every single park in Lake Forest. This would be $97,000. And then lastly, for the last amount of money in our park and public land fund would be the town line playground installation. This would be the cost for the base materials, the stone, excavation, etc., and that would be the remaining $30,000. So a total from our public park and land fund of $127,000. And lastly, left over again from the referendum for the Route 60 debt issue is the equipment for the town line playground equipment, which would be $70,638. And this is something that has been requested by the users out there, as well as people who want to rent the facilities, and when they find out that it doesn't have a playground, they choose to go somewhere else. So this could help up our rental issues. And then, so that would be a grand total for capital improvements during fiscal year 13 of $657,638. There is a note that our capital fleet equipment of $150,000 will continue to be funded from the Fund 220 operations and not our capital fund. For some of you who were at the meeting, there were two things that had kind of been on our list of potential capital funds, one being a backup generator, which is no longer going to be funded through the Parks and Rec Board, as well as some issues with Settlers Square. We will still be in charge of overseeing the project, but the money to
Do the work.
landscape Settlers Square will not be coming out of our funds. Do I have any questions or comments? Did I explain that okay? Okay.
I did have a question
Okay.
about the repaving or refitting or resurfacing the boat storage. What's going to decide whether we end up with concrete or asphalt? Is that just
We did talk
cost
about this.
or-
Yeah, I don't think we've narrowed that down yet. That's why we did consider just a placeholder, and it is something that we need to really take a good hard look at. Obviously, concrete would give us it's higher price to put in, but longevity is greatly enhanced, as well as the quality of the surface for moving the boats and things down there. However, price might be a challenge for us with that. And then also, we aren't sure, looking at it, whether or not we need to do a full replacement right now or an overlay. So this number could come down significantly. We've been putting it off a number of years now. As you know, having some of the boats, they actually have sunk into the asphalt, and it's becoming very difficult to maneuver the boats down there. So we do feel we need to do something, but we do have a little bit more diligence work, I think, to identify exactly what that would be. And that's one of the reasons with it coming out of the operating surplus of ours, it's not holding up funds that could be used for other needs in the city, and so it really will come a matter of, you know, being funded out of our own department based on what we identify as a park board we want to do next. I know Bob had conversations with me earlier last week about, you know, a whole variety of options to maybe we should make sure we look at this carefully. We don't want to overspend or overinvest money down there, but we do want to make sure that area is safe and functional, you know, for the boaters that have been using that area for a long time. So.
Any other questions, comments? All right, I would appreciate a park board approval of the 5-year Parks and Recreation Capital Improvement Plan and the fiscal year 13 proposed capital projects, and a recommendation to send to City Council for their approval.
I'll make a motion.
Second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great, motion passes. Thank you so much. All right, Mary, Director's Report.
Gotta find my sheet. Looking.
Just make it up.
Yeah.
Wing it for the next time.
Okay, got it. All right, there we go. I don't actually have a lot to report, but I did want to give you an update on Town Line Community Park's drill and fill status right now. So we did start the work last week on Friday. They worked through the whole weekend, dawn to dark, and have gotten right now about 1/3 of the field done. Rain came in and has held us up again. So they do still have probably about 10 days of work once we get the weather window back here to do more of it. They have greatly appreciated our crews that have been helping fill all the hoppers and keeping it going. They said that has been a tremendous support mechanism for them to get this work done. Talking with the company, I walked the property last night with them, and a couple good news and, you know, not so good news, but the great news is that we are a very clean field. They came from a field up in Minnesota where they broke 30 bits, which obviously increases the repair. They have to repair those, and before they, you know, can continue the work and delays your timetable. We've only broke 2, so that was, he said, very good aspect about our turf. The downside, I think, is that where we struggled a little bit with the drill and fill is really in those low pockets. They are even wetter than they had anticipated, so they did tear up the turf a little bit more, have the machinery going over. So our crews are going back and having to do a little bit more of, you know, raking the soil back in place and putting some sod actually in those spaces to kind of help beef up those zones for them. So, but they are very optimistic that what they're seeing is very typical and has been, you know, what they've gotten reports on that should be beneficial for us. Now this rain will help us, we hope, looking a little bit at it. The area that's been done, and it is we did the the northwest corner, which is our worst zone, and we started with that, so we'd have the most opportunity to kind of see the water sheets there, and that's the worst situation. Now we won't be able to see it as well as we would if we'd done it a little earlier in the year, because the frost and the coldness is holding some of that water in a different capacity below the surface. But he said we should be able to at least get a good sense, you know, that how it is enhancing the field overall. But it's going smoothly. We just need the weather to cooperate with this, and we hope to get that done. The other small project that was part of that was filling in the swale between when you came off the parking lot and went onto the turf, that dip that we had there that was holding water. We got in our price quotes, and we were waiting for one for a little while because we thought it would be a good quote, but it came in much higher than anticipated, partly because they're starting to lose their seasonal crews at this time of the year. So for them to pick up a project, that's a little bit of a challenge for some of the companies. But we do have one that came in at the price that we need. So we're planning to start that probably in a week. They feel that they can shift their crew from a project they're on right now in a week. So we should start that swale work as well, and we can get that in before the weather, you know, is done. So so we're moving with that, and good progress is being made if the weather would just hold. So any questions on the town line that I can answer? Okay. A couple other items as upcoming activities and for our department is, we've got a number of special events. We are helping as one of our partnership opportunities is we're working with the Lake Forest Hospital's boutique that is being hosted at the rec center in the gymnasium. So Sally and her staff have been really busy with helping get that arranged. And I don't have the exact sale dates. I don't know, Sally, if you want to share that or not, but see if
The boutique sale dates, Wednesday evening from 6 to 9 is the preview sale. Thursday, Friday from 10 to 6, and then Saturday from 10 to 2. That would be November, I believe, 16th through 19th.
Sally, can you stay up there for a minute?
Sure.
Okay, I think we also, I'm looking for my sheet, and I apologize, I don't seem to be putting my hand on it, but a couple other events we have coming up, I know, is the Sterling Art Sale, which is usually the first week in December, I believe.
Correct.
And then we also have the Dance Extravaganza fundraiser, which is a very big fundraiser for our dance program. Do you recall the dates for that by any chance?
That would also be the first weekend in December.
Okay.
I believe it's December 4th.
Okay, so that's before our next board meeting, which is why I wanted to mention it here. All that information is available on our website, so we encourage everybody to attend that. And then the last thing I have is we're going to have a farewell coffee for Chris Marzellik, our retiring golf pro from DEERPATH, and that will be at the end of November. We'll be getting invitations out to the golfers as well as to throughout the city. We're going to do 2 different coffees, one that's really for the golfing community, come and wish him well on his retirement, and the second would be more so for the city staff who've worked with him for many years, and boards and commission members too. So we'll be getting that out to you as well. So I just wanted to give you a heads up that invitations will be sent out shortly at the end, for the end of the month. His last day with us is November 30th, so it's coming up here quickly, very quickly. And that concludes my report for this evening.
Okay. Any comments by the board members?
Just something really quick. Lots of folks in the Waveland Park neighborhood are thrilled with the new park and the basketball court in particular, so I said I would relay that to everybody.
Yeah, my son's gone and played there. We don't live in that area, but they love it. They say it's the best thing we ever did by putting that basketball court there.
Yeah.
They love it.
Just to pile on, so I know that was the first time our folks have assembled a playground like that. So
That is
just
correct.
Thank Peter and team. They did a great job. It really
Thank
turned
you.
out well.
I think they took on the challenge and enjoyed the process. A lot of learning curves along the way, but they did it, really well, and used resources available to them to make sure that they could get it all done and in place. And that is our hope and intent with Town Line Park as well, is to do it with our own crews and save that money for the city.
That's great.
Anything else? Great. Can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Great. Meeting adjourned.
Standing water there today.
Was there? I haven't seen